Good morning, and welcome to the Boulder Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship on this lovely day. We are opening to joy today, and I'm touched and moved to see how many of you are here and how many of you are on Zoom today, and I don't even know how many people are over there in our hall, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful moment. I'm Reverend Lydia Ferrante Roseberry. I am honored to be the minister of this congregation, and I'm joined today by Service Associate Paul Brindison and a whole host of fabulous musicians: Tad Coryath, Tracy Bush, Mark Hughes, Emily Coryath, Amy Austin, Mary Stackpole, and Shelley Bernard are all with us today providing music, as well as there will be the choir on video later today. And of course, we have our excellent tech crew, Bill Beachley, Deborah Mensch, and Larry Sherwood. They help stitch together the roomies, zoomies, and hollies, and so I'm really grateful for their work. As I say our welcome words today, I invite those of you on Zoom to switch into gallery mode if you haven't already, and scroll through the screen so you can see the beautiful faces and the lovely diversity of this congregation. Those of you who are in person, take a look around and see if you can smile with your eyes at the people near you and recognize who's under all those masks. You are all welcome here today. In all the beauty of languages, colors, skin tones, shapes, and sizes that come together in your uniqueness, you are welcome here. In all the ways that you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. In all the ways you make your living and all the places that you are from, you are welcome here. Christian, pagan, humanist, Jew, Buddhist, mystic, Unitarian Universalist, Muslim, with all of the traditions that inform your spiritual life, you are welcome here. No matter how long you are away, nor how soon until you return, you are welcome here. And whether you come with laughter in your heart today or with tears, you are welcome here. You are invited to join us with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. We welcome you all here today. Our congregation is committed to being a center for spiritual exploration and justice making. And now that we are carefully and incrementally opening our building, I can only imagine what will spring forth from that. We acknowledge that we on the Boulder Valley and the Front Range of Colorado are living in the territory of the Arapaho, and that the Ute, the Cheyenne, and other tribes were also forcibly removed from this land. And we are committed to working with Right Relations Boulder County to build connections and support reparations. If you're new here, we are so glad you found us and hope that even in this multi-platform community, you can experience the warmth and the love of this congregation. Each Sunday is different, so please come back a few times to really get to know us. If you'd like to get better acquainted, please see the chat window if you are on Zoom, or stop by the welcome table in the foyer if you're in person today. And finally, we do love to know who is among us today, so if this is one of your first visits and you'd like to do so, you can introduce yourself. Zoomies may do so in the chat, just with your name and where you live, the town you live in. And if you're a roomie, you can stand as you're willing and able and tell us your name and where you live. And that goes for people who are in the hall too, and then I'll just be sure that I get to know who's introduced themselves a little later. And following the service, just check by the welcome table if you haven't already done so. Last week, our service associate, Karen Griglack, shared about the traditions of the Advent Wreath and the Menorah. Both we're in the Christian season of Advent and the last day of the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. So I've been asked to light a wreath each Sunday for Advent this year. And given that our Unitarian Universalist roots are Christian, and they are my roots as well, I am delighted to do so. So today we'll light 2 candles for the Advent Sunday dedicated to peace. In this world that has experienced so much violence, in our communities, in our schools, in our neighborhoods, and in the international areas all around the world, may each of us find ways to bring peace into our own lives and into the lives of those around us, remembering that we are all profoundly interconnected, and when one suffers, we all suffer. Tonight is also the last evening of Hanukkah, and I've placed the menorah there with the final candles right next to the Advent wreath. But I won't be lighting those candles since they are traditionally lit at sundown. But I just wish a blessed Hanukkah to all of those who may be celebrating amongst us. And now I'll light our chalice. Zoomies, if you have a chalice at home, please feel free to light it with me. And the rest of you, say the words along with me if you'd like. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. Now we'll ring our bowl the second time and invite you to allow the sound of the bowl to draw you deeper into this present moment, into this multi-platform gathered community. And we'll pause for a few moments of silence and centering, following the sound of the bowl.
Messing up the mic. A poem by David Budbill titled Loading the Woodshed. I finished loading the woodshed yesterday. I tell myself every year, I'm not going to do that again. It's so much work, it's so hard, it's so painful, and I'm getting old. And then next year, when the fall comes around and the cold winds blow and the geese fly south, I load the woodshed again. And I think, how long will this go on? I'm 72, actually 78. Every year it takes me longer to recover, and yet every year I keep doing it. It's just, now that I'm done, I go out in that woodshed and I look at those piles of wood so smoothly against the wall, 6.5 feet wide, 6 feet tall, 16 inches deep, 2 rows. It's enough wood to keep us warm all winter. When I go out and look at what I've done, I get such a deep sense of joy. Even from this back-breaking labor, that I can't imagine a year going by without all that pain again. Well, I think we can relate a little bit to that. We've had 3 or 4 years of a little bit of pain and struggle and separation. But there is a sense of joy as we move into this new facility, isn't there? And I'm reminded of what one of my favorite poets says, or writers, C.S. Lewis from Britain. Joy bursts in our lives when we go about doing the good at hand and not trying to manipulate things and times to achieve joy. I think that's great. Over the past several weeks, we have interviewed a number of individuals who've been willing to share with us how has this facility and the process and moving in brought you joy. Even with all the time and effort and sacrifice, how has it brought you joy? Now we're going to look at a video in a moment or two, but during the offering, we've placed, if you've wondered, what is this sitting on my chair? We've placed this little ornament. And during the offering, if you have a chance to write on this little ornament and then bring up and put it on the tree during the offering, what about the process of this building and the building itself and the outside, what has brought you joy? So thanks to David Burris, here's a version of 10 individuals expressing their joy.
Each week when we light our chalice, we commit, among other things, to the energy of action. And when I think about what brings me joy these days, it's about how we've used the energy of action first to plan for this beautiful new expansion of our building and our congregation. And you used energy to construct the building, and then used energy to be oh so patient during the pandemic until we could get back together again. And now finally the joy and the energy of being here on Sundays as a congregation. Also on Zoom, but seeing one another in person brings me tremendous joy.
I'm making the salsa and pesto. It was delicious and I helped the garden make it grow.
Yeah.
I also love the garden.
Being in the building gives me joy because it's beautiful. But more than that, bringing the people back together in the building gives me joy. The pandemic was so isolating, and it was so hard not to be with people that we care about and love. And the energy is palpable of people happy to be together again and happy to support one another. And I'm just glad to be here for that.
Walking through the doors of our new main entrance and letting my eyes sweep across the vestibule brings joy to me. But this morning, I was able to attend my first Sunday service in our new sanctuary, and that made it abundantly clear that it's being with our fellowship community that truly brings me joy.
I think the thing that gives me joy when I see the completed building is the smile on people's faces. Not only the smile, but the surprise when they see the new sanctuary and they see the new SOS wing and they walk around the outside and see the landscaping. Everyone is just so excited to see that. It feels good to have worked on that for 2 years to bring that joy to people.
The ship's sanctuary inspires a feeling of awe, meditation, and possibilities. The building promotes our interconnectedness and interdependence, thus enabling the transformation of us, our community, and the world to accomplish our mission. Great facility.
Good morning. I'm Wendy Highsmith, Design Team Chair. This eclectic team, Debbie Lane, John Holmberg, Robin Rathwig, Diana Forrest, and I, and Reverend Lydia, looked at endless building materials for the interiors. Did we always agree? Of course not. but we came to consensus by working through it. That is joy.
Go.
What brings me great joy are the new classrooms. They are so welcoming and colorful and well-designed that they will bring lots of hours of joy to the children and youth that use them, and also to those of us who visit them. It's a great facility.
So what brings me joy about our new building is the inside feels like the outside. I love the stones, I love the wood, I love the water in the background, and you look up and see the sky, and it's gorgeous, and the sun comes in, and it just touches my heart, and I'm so glad we're here.
I felt such joy when I finally got to experience a live service in our new sanctuary. It was so wonderful to hear to hear the music live, and to experience all the textures here, the oak and the stone and the steel and the glass. It's just so beautiful. And it was such a privilege for me to be able to grow as a craftsman in the service of the fellowship during the building of this. And especially to have the honor to build the new pulpit. It was perhaps a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I am really very grateful, so thank you.
What gives me joy in being back in our building with the new sanctuary and all the renovations is partly just the joy of the building itself and how beautiful it is, but mainly my joy is being face to face with members of our fellowship once again and seeing the light and love in people's eyes in person. Thanks.
So what brings me joy now that we're in our building is that we can finally begin to make our building become what we had hoped it would be, which is a home for spiritual exploration, a center for justice making, and a resource that we can offer to the community at large.
It brings me joy to see such a beautiful, completed building and to know and appreciate all the time, treasure, and talents that you all put into making this building a reality.
I love making the salsa and pesto. It was delicious and I helped gonna make it grow.
This feels good. It feels good to be back in the middle, too, I will say. So I hope for Zoomies you can see me well enough. Joy burst into my life on Sunday morning, September 20th, 2020. I was standing right here. When we left our building in February of 2019, I would never have imagined that our first Sunday back, our first water ceremony in this new sanctuary, would just be a slow trickle of individuals who'd signed up ahead of time and duteously came at their appointed times, and they would just pour their water into the bowl, and most of them just quickly departed over there. In my mind, we would be standing room only on that Sunday with a vibrant joy that was spilling over into the School of the Spirit wing and beyond. And yet on that Sunday, listening to Tad play music and people coming and staying and listening to him, I was moved to tears. It was such a different kind of joy than I could have ever imagined. Person after person, family after family walked into this space and felt the awe of it, the accomplishment of it, and the community that came together to bring it. And it was an intimate kind of joy, a very different kind of joy than I would have anticipated, but joy nonetheless. Joy bursts into our lives when we go about doing the good at hand and not trying to manipulate things and create times of joy. Thank you, C.S. Lewis. Beloveds, I'm looking out in this space at members of the building committee, the design team, the capital campaign team, past treasurers, staff members, the playground team, former presidents and trustees and their partners. While so many of us contributed in amazing ways to get this building built, these folks, the folks that we tried to give special invitations to and tried not to forget anybody, these folks took on special leadership responsibilities. The kind of leadership responsibilities that keep you up at night. The kind that raise over $4.5 million. Much of that, or at least some of that, after the contractor's final bid comes in at $800,000 more than we thought we had 10 days before we were scheduled to move out of our building. That's the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night. These folks, many of them met at least weekly for years. They signed multi-million-dollar contracts on our behalf, perhaps with quivering hands. They looked at dozens of architectural drawings and landscape plans, rooted them in our values of environmentalism, beauty, and accessibility. And they made decision after decision, small and great, on our behalf for a vision that all of us had signed on to. Decisions about the shape and size of every room. They picked every color, tile, and texture, every chair, table, and shelf, every tree, bush, and swing that came together to create the whole of this beautiful masterpiece that is now our fellowship campus. How I wish we could all just give you a standing ovation right now in this multi-platform way. Because honestly, on behalf of the congregation, I don't know how to thank you enough. I just don't. I've been waiting, watching this day approach and saying, how am I going to thank those people for everything they did, for how hard they worked to build a legacy that will live on at least 50 years into our future, beyond the time that any of us are here. I'm so grateful to have you all here. And your patience. Let's talk about patience for a moment as we've waited out this pandemic that has not even yet burned itself out. It's been 15 months since that first water service in September 2020, and still we are not able to have our dream of that grand opening and dedication. To bring what our dream was, our vision, to its fullest fruition. As you look around at each other, finally in this room together and not meeting on Zoom, how do you feel? Those of you who put all this energy and effort into it. What stories come to mind? What delights? What headaches? What backaches? What challenges? And are you also besieged right now, like so many of us, by worldwide pandemic fatigue that perhaps is getting in the way of this moment we've been waiting for? Well, I hope that even under these circumstances, you can feel the satisfaction of a job well done, the joy of doing the good at hand. And I also resonate with the words of C.S. Lewis that joy can't be manufactured or manipulated to be like, today's going to be the joyful day, December 5th. We said we were opening, show up, be joyful. It doesn't always work that way, right? The world and our lives are so complicated, and we have been through a lot. So I want to say, especially to the leaders who've worked so hard, but to everyone, you are welcome here in no matter what state you show up in. If you're feeling a little deflated after all this work to be not quite there, then that's okay. But I hope you can also reframe a joy that is quieter maybe, but just as beautiful and deeply intimate. In the coming months, we will be telling our story in a variety of ways, incrementally, and we hope to culminate with a building dedication, fingers crossed, on the first weekend of May. So I'm really hoping to hear the stories bubble up over time. And as we begin to incrementally open ourselves up to the joy of this accomplishment, let's remember what our ultimate purpose is. All the hard work, all the satisfaction was never meant for us alone to savor. This building was designed as a vehicle for us. We call it the ship. It's supposed to move and have people coming in and out and through it. It's a place to cultivate the power of joy and to provide solace for the destitute and to do our part to bring about a more beautiful, more just world than that our hearts know is possible. We want to be the vision of what we want to be, the world we want to live in. Joy is elusive, my Soul Matters colleague writes. And maybe it's elusive for a reason, they write. Maybe it's slippery because maybe it's slippery in order to help us understand that it was put here to fly, or better yet, to be flung, to be passed and not possessed, to be spread between you and me, between the ones who received its gifts and the ones who've been looking for its treasure for a very long time. Maybe it's a beautiful and elegant contagion over which we have more control than we think. If only we share it. If only we notice that joy is not ours to keep, but ours to give. Maybe joy opens us up as much as we open to it. Maybe it's the way light leaks into the world. So as we experience the joy of opening up, far different than what we'd imagined, let us open up wide enough so that our joy is flung out beyond the walls of this community, flung to those who are destitute, flung to those who are beaten down by systems of oppression that fail to respect their sacred humanity, flung to those who, because of oppression, feel that they are not deserving of joy. Let's make joy a basic right as well. Flung to those who've stopped dreaming of its possibility. We have so much to offer, so much to learn from our deepening connections to the broader community. Let our joy now be in that endeavor. And I offer my humble gratitude to all of you who have made this moment, this building, and all that will come from it in the years to come possible. Blessed be. Yeah, oh, if you can get it on camera, sure. I want to give everybody who was on the building, all those folks, a standing ovation. They were working something out in the background, so we can give you a standing ovation. If you are comfortable doing so, please stand, and we will thank you for everybody. Thank you, Deborah. Deborah's like a dream worker. I get these ideas, and she's like, we can make that happen. So thank you for making that happen. And again, thank you to everyone for all that you have brought to make this moment possible. Spot. Here's another joy to celebrate. In the midst of this building project that disrupted this fellowship's life, in the midst of the pandemic, which disrupted the world, this congregation's financial generosity has continued and blossomed. Since we moved out of our building in February 2019, we have given away over $64,000 in our half-plate collections. I'm constantly saying that the building is not our mission, and we have proven in our time away by so many activities and so much generosity that is the case. This will facilitate us to do even more. So this week we'll be sharing our plate with NAMI, Boulder County. NAMI stands for the National Association on Mental Illness. And one of the things I did over my sabbatical was take an 8-week NAMI family-to-family course. It provided a wealth of information about how to care for someone with mental health issues, as well as a community of folks to share stories and resources with for those 8 weeks. NAMI offers ongoing support groups for both people with mental health issues and for those who care for them, as well as a number of educational resources. And in this year when mental illness has skyrocketed, I hope you will give generously to NAMI so they can do their fine work. And as Paul mentioned, during today's offering, we are inviting you to take a moment to, if you are here in person, you have this little card to fill in what has brought you joy in this building. And if you participated in any part of the building project, what brought you joy? So perhaps it was stretching to contribute to the capital campaign, or being asked to contribute again and contributing again, or help clearing out the old building, or helping us move into the new building, anything you may have done. If you weren't able to participate because you weren't here then or for whatever reason, what brings you joy now as you anticipate and experience us in this building? Those of you in the room can use this. Those of you who are on Zoom, please write it in the chat. And when if you're in the room, there's a tree in each of the rooms, and you can put your ornaments on the tree, or you can come down to the center and Paul will take it, or you can come around the side. There's also a way up on the side. And Paul and Donna Brindison have volunteered to collect all of these things, all of our joys, and get them out to us in a form that's easy for us to digest in the next couple of days. So thank you so very much. hard to hear with this, so I'm going to shift off for now. And apologies for that. We're all experimenting and trying something new and trying to stay as safe as possible. So I just wanted to read a few of these joys so people can hear them from the chat. Gwen Murphy writes, helping build the playground and raised beds and having my kids build strong ties and friendships while they help too. Learning how to drive a riding mower to help with the grounds. I've never mowed a lawn before. And Carmen writes, thanks and gratitude to all those who made this new building possible. Carmen just joined last week. I get joy from trees. Glad to hear there are apple trees. I look forward to becoming more acquainted with folks too, and that sounds wonderful. TK and I agreed that it felt good to financially support the effort once and then again. So many thanks to those who dedicated hours and days of their lives to the planning. And from Catherine Harris, that we finally have a beautiful home for this beautiful congregation to do its beautiful work of a spiritual home and a place for justice making. So you'll get to read all of those when with Paul and Donna will pull those together. So now it's time for our time of community connection, our time of sacred sharing. If you're on Zoom and you'd like to share a joy or a concern, please type it in the chat window and sending it to everyone, and then I'll read those towards the end of this of joys and concerns. And Paul will add your stone to the sacred water. If you're here in the sanctuary today, you can come up front, share your joy or concern using the microphone, and then add a stone to the waters. And if you're in the fellowship hall and have something to share, you can write it down, and Agrita will bring it to the sanctuary. I'll read them along with the ones from the chat. Everyone is invited also to come forward and add a stone in silence if they would like. And wherever you are, just tell us your name and where you live as you're sharing. Oh, I'm out of order. You guys got me? Okay. I wanted to take a moment to just bless this tree, the tree in the other room, all the chats, all the things, that the joy that has come from the hard work and the challenges of these times truly, truly be felt in our hearts, and also be the beginning of bringing more beauty, more love, more joy to this world. May it be so. May this be our constant, ever-present promise and our prayer. Blessed be.
On this day when we hold so much joy and so much awareness of the pain around us, we offer you this familiar hymn, Peace Like a River. Our joy doesn't negate the pain of the world, and as we grow in our faith and in community, we learn that we're strong enough to hold both. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy. ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul.
Thank you, Emily. It's so nice to have you back. I have a few announcements this morning, and then we're going to have some closing music after we extinguish the chalice. So, sounds like Kathy Partridge is a last-minute bidder, and I bet some of you are too. So, the auction still is open for, you can go and peruse things, those of you who are in the building, for another 2 hours. Plus, there'll be goodies in the secret garden, which is the little alcove between the fellowship hall and the sanctuary out that way. So stick around, check out the auction items and have some goodies. And bid online. You can still do that too. So there will be 2 holiday healing services this week. I call them When Hope is Hard to Find. And they are for those for whom the holidays are just a more difficult time. And the first one will be Thursday evening in here, live, not on Zoom, so just live. And then I'm doing it again Friday evening on Zoom. Both are at 7 p.m. And the Zoom one will be on this same Zoom link that we use for Sunday mornings. It's not too early to make your plans for Christmas Eve. Join us at 3 p.m. for a campfire outside with face painting and hot chocolate and a s'mores bar, a photo booth, and an optional cookie swap and kids' books exchange, plus plenty of holiday cheer. So that's 3 p.m. on Christmas Eve, replacing the no rehearsal pageant this year. And then at 8 p.m. we will have our traditional candles and carols and candle service in the sanctuary, the fellowship hall, and on Zoom. And now I'm going to extinguish our chalice, and then we'll have. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.